Through the reinforced windows of Colony Horizon's observation deck, Kita Park watched helplessly as the atmosphere processors sputtered and died one by one. The massive machines that had taken 2 decades to build and calibrate were now reduced to smoking ruins. His hands gripped the railing so tight his knuckles turned white, but his face remained carefully neutral as High Commissioner Valix droned on beside him. "You see, this is exactly why we've been concerned about humanity's rushed expansion," Valix said, his 3 pairs of eyes blinking in that condescending way that made Kita's blood boil. "Such delicate equipment requires centuries of testing before deployment. Perhaps now you'll understand why the Council's regulations exist." Kita forced himself to breathe slowly, counting each breath. The twisted metal wreckage scattered across New Eden's surface told a different story. He had personally reviewed the security footage showing unknown ships approaching the processors just before the malfunction. The explosion patterns clearly indicated targeted strikes, not equipment failure. But when humanity had presented this evidence to the Council, they had dismissed it as incomplete data from primitive human sensors. Behind him, the Council delegation continued their tour of the observation deck, their expensive robes rustling as they moved from window to window. Their hushed conversations were filled with barely concealed smugness. Kita could pick up fragments. Typical human impatience. Told them they weren't ready. Lucky there weren't more casualties. Lucky. Kita's jaw clenched. 15,000 colonists would now have to be evacuated because the terraforming process had been violently interrupted. An entire planet's ecosystem, carefully cultivated over 20 years, would collapse within months. Billions in resources and countless hours of human effort wasted. And the Council called this lucky. The observation deck's door slid open with a soft hiss. Lieutenant Hansol entered, her steps quick but measured as she approached Kita. She waited respectfully until there was a natural pause in Valix's monologue about proper planetary development procedures. "Sir," she said quietly, her voice steady despite the anger Kita could see burning in her eyes. "The Council delegation's ships are being prepared for departure. Admiral Song has requested your immediate presence in the war room." Kita nodded once, sharply. He turned to Valix, maintaining the polite mask that humanity had worn for 3 centuries. "High Commissioner, you'll have to excuse me. Duty calls." Of course. Valix waved a hand dismissively. "Do try to keep better maintenance records for your next attempt at colonization. The Council will, of course, need to approve any future terraforming projects." Kita didn't trust himself to respond. He simply bowed slightly, not low enough to be truly respectful, but just enough to maintain diplomatic protocol, and followed Hansol out of the observation deck. As they walked through Colony Horizon's corridors, Kita could feel the tension radiating from every human they passed. The colony's staff maintained their professionalism, but there was a new edge to their movements, a barely contained fury in their eyes. "The evacuation plans?" Kita asked as they entered a secure elevator. "Already in motion," Hansol replied. "The first transport ships will arrive within 48 hours. Medical teams are prioritizing the elderly and children." The elevator descended deep into the colony's secure levels. As they passed each security checkpoint, Kita thought about the 3 centuries humanity had spent being patronized, restricted, and sabotaged by the Council races. They had endured it all, playing the role of the patient younger species, learning, watching, and waiting. "The Admiral has received responses from Earth Command," Hansol continued as they approached the war room. "All sectors are reporting ready status." Kita allowed himself a grim smile. The Council races had never bothered to question why humanity accepted their restrictions so quietly. They had mistaken patience for weakness, preparation for submission. They had never wondered what humanity might be doing with all that time they spent catching up to galactic standards. The war room's doors parted, revealing Admiral Song and the colony's senior staff gathered around a holographic display of New Eden. The planet's atmosphere was already showing signs of degradation, its carefully balanced ecosystem beginning to unravel. As Kita took his place at the table, he knew humanity's long wait was finally over. The Council had just destroyed their last chance for a peaceful resolution. Now they would learn why humans were known for their patience, and why no one would ever forget the day that patience ran out. "Sir," Admiral Song acknowledged him with a nod. "Earth Command has issued Case Omega authorization. Shall we begin?" Keita looked around the room, seeing the same controlled fury in every human face. 3 centuries of preparation had led to this moment. He took one last deep breath, thinking of all the sacrifices that had brought them here. "Begin the countdown," he ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy who we really are." The massive holographic display cast a soft blue glow across Admiral Ji-Won Song's face as she studied the carefully hidden pieces of humanity's true power. All around the Sol system, dimensional pockets concealed Earth's real fleet, not the outdated ships they showed to the Council, but vessels that would make even the most advanced alien races pause in fear. In the war room deep beneath the lunar surface, dozens of officers worked quietly at their stations, each movement precise and purposeful. 3 centuries of preparation had taught humanity the value of silence. The display showed hundreds of ships, each one representing years of secret development and testing. Some were so large they could have easily been spotted from Earth if not for the dimensional technology that kept them hidden from both conventional sensors and visual detection. "Status report," Ji-Won commanded, her voice calm despite the weight of the moment. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Captain Subin replied from her station. "The quantum network is operating at full capacity. Director Du-hyun has confirmed that all sleeper cells are in position throughout Council space." Ji-Won zoomed in on one particular section of the display, showing a massive dreadnought-class vessel that the Council races believed was centuries beyond human capability. The HSS Reckoning waited silently in its dimensional pocket, along with dozens of its sister ships. Each one carried weapons that would make the Council's most advanced battleships look like children's toys. "And our deep cover agents?" Ji-Won asked, though she already knew the answer. Nothing would begin until every piece was perfectly in place. "All agents confirm ready status," Subin reported. "The last confirmation came in from the Centauri sector 10 minutes ago. We have people in position in every major Council facility, government center, and military installation." A soft chime drew their attention to a new message appearing on the main display. It was from Earth Command, encoded with the highest level of security. Ji-Won read it twice, making sure she understood every word. The destruction of the New Eden colony had been the final test of the Council's intentions. They had failed spectacularly. "Send the wake-up signal," Ji-Won ordered. "Begin Operation Awakening." Around the room, officers began the complex sequence that would activate sleeper cells that had been waiting for years, some for decades. Human agents embedded throughout Council space would soon receive their orders, transforming from seemingly loyal Council servants into the advance force of humanity's response. "Wake-up signal transmitted," reported Lieutenant Minho from the communication station. "First confirmations are already coming in. Quantum network is maintaining perfect coherence." Ji-Won watched as green lights began appearing across the galactic map, each one representing a sleeper cell acknowledging their orders. The Council races had never suspected that humans could maintain quantum communication across such vast distances. They had assumed humanity was still limited to conventional FTL communications, carefully cultivating that belief by maintaining a facade of technological limitations. "Begin Phase 2, Ji-Won commanded. "Bring the fleet to full power." The dimensional pockets throughout the Sol system began humming with energy as massive ships awakened from their long slumber. Weapons systems came online, shields powered up, and engines began their warm-up sequences. Each ship represented a different lie humanity had told. Every time they had said, "We can't do that yet," or "That's beyond our current capabilities," they had been building these vessels in secret. "Fleet reports ready, Admiral," Subin announced. "All systems are operating at optimal levels." Jai-1 studied the tactical display one final time. In less than an hour, humanity would reveal its true face to the galaxy. The council races would learn that while they had been smugly lecturing humans about patience and technological development, humanity had surpassed them in almost every field. "Send the final authorization code," Jai-1 ordered. "Operation Awakening is now active." As the code was transmitted, Jai-1 thought about the generations of humans who had maintained this deception. The scientists who had made breakthrough after breakthrough, but kept their discoveries hidden. The soldiers who had trained on advanced weapons while pretending to struggle with obsolete technology. The politicians who had smiled and nodded through countless condescending council sessions while knowing humanity's true capabilities. "Admiral," Suvin called out, her voice tight with anticipation. "The first phase of sleeper cell activities has begun. Council military installations are reporting unexpected system failures across all sectors." Jai-1 allowed herself a small, grim smile. Humanity had played the long game, and played it perfectly. Now it was time to show the galaxy exactly what humans were capable of when pushed too far. "Begin fleet emergence sequence," she commanded. "Let's introduce the Council to the real humanity." All across the Sol system, dimensional pockets began to open, revealing humanity's true fleet to the stars for the first time. The moment of awakening had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Quantum Forge's activation sequence sent vibrations through the entire lunar complex as Chief Engineer Ta Min Lee input the final commands. Hidden 2 kilometers beneath the moon's surface, the massive facility began awakening from its dormant state. The soft blue glow of containment fields illuminated rows upon rows of advanced warships that had never seen the light of day. Ta Min watched from the main control center as energy readings spiked across all systems. Each ship in the underground dock represented years of careful research, reverse engineering, and human innovation. The council races had never imagined that the primitive humans they so enjoyed lecturing had not only mastered their technology, but had far surpassed it. "Quantum Forge reaching full power," reported Dr. Minji through the facility-wide comm system. "All gravitic drive cores are responding perfectly. We're seeing performance levels at 300% above what the Council believes is possible." The massive chamber housing the Quantum Forge lit up section by section, revealing its true scale. The facility stretched for kilometers in every direction, large enough to house an entire fleet. The ships themselves were nothing like the outdated vessels humanity showed to the galaxy. These were predators, built with technologies that combined stolen alien secrets with human ingenuity. "Begin final systems check," Ta Min ordered, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "I want every weapon, every shield, every drive core tested and verified." The engineering teams moved with practiced efficiency, the result of countless drills conducted in total secrecy. Each ship underwent a comprehensive diagnostic, its systems pushing the boundaries of what the Council thought possible. Particle beam weapons powered up, their containment fields glowing with barely restrained energy. Shield generators hummed to life, creating defensive barriers that could shrug off the strongest Council weapons. "Chief," one of the junior engineers called out, "you need to see these readings from the flagship's main gun." Ta Min moved to the console, studying the data scrolling across the screen. The numbers brought a smile to his face. The weapon system they had reverse-engineered from a captured Council dreadnought had been improved so dramatically it was barely recognizable. Where the original could destroy a small ship, their version could crack a planet. "Dr. Minji," he called over the comm, "how are the stealth systems performing?" "Better than we hoped," she replied, excitement clear in her voice. "The quantum shroud is maintaining perfect coverage. Even if they were looking right at us, they wouldn't see a thing." Ta Min walked through the control center, checking each station personally. The Council races had always treated humans like children playing with technology they didn't understand. They never wondered why humanity accepted their help so readily, or why human engineers were so interested in even their most basic systems. "Sir," another engineer reported, The quantum communication network is fully integrated with all vessels. We're maintaining stable links across the entire fleet. This was perhaps their greatest achievement. While the Council relied on conventional FTL communications, humanity had developed something far more sophisticated. Their quantum network allowed instantaneous communication across any distance, completely undetectable by conventional means. Begin power-up sequence for the primary fleet, Min ordered. Start with the dreadnoughts. The largest ships in the underground dock began to power up, their massive engines creating a deep thrumming that resonated through the lunar rock. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering, incorporating technologies that the Council would consider impossible. Chief Engineer, Dr. Minji's voice came through again. You should see this. The gravitic drives are actually exceeding our projected capabilities. We're seeing performance levels approaching 350% above Council standards. Min wasn't surprised. They had spent decades perfecting these systems, each improvement carefully hidden from the galaxy's prying eyes. The Council races had never wondered why humans seemed so content with inferior technology. They had mistaken patience for acceptance, curiosity for admiration. All ships reporting ready, announced the fleet control officer. Weapon systems are hot, drives are primed, and stealth systems are engaged. Min studied the master display, showing the status of every ship in the facility. Hundreds of vessels, each one representing a different aspect of humanity's true technological capability. They had taken the Council's technology, improved it, and created something entirely new. Sir, his comm officer called out, we're receiving the final authorization from Admiral Song. Operation Awakening is now active. Min took a deep breath, thinking of all the years of secrecy, all the careful planning that had led to this moment. The Council was about to learn that while they had been teaching humanity about space travel, humans had been learning how to fight a war. Begin launch sequence, he commanded. It's time to show the galaxy what human engineering can really do. The Quantum Forge's massive doors began to open, revealing the path to the surface. Soon, humanity's real fleet would emerge from hiding, and the Council would learn just how badly they had underestimated Earth's children. Ambassador Dajun Yang strode purposefully into the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, his steps echoing across the polished floor. The emergency session had been called mere minutes after the first reports of strange energy signatures near Council worlds. Around him, representatives from 100 alien species filled the tiered seats, their worried whispers creating a constant background hum. The Council chamber itself was a marvel of alien architecture, its crystalline walls stretching hundreds of meters toward a transparent dome that showed the stars above. For centuries, humans had stood in this very spot, accepting lectures and restrictions with apparent humility. Today would be different. High Chancellor Valfsar, the head of the Council, raised all four of his hands for silence. The Council recognizes Ambassador Yang of Earth. You may explain these. Disturbing reports we're receiving. Dajun took his place at the podium, his expression carefully neutral. Behind him, a massive holographic display dominated the chamber's far wall, currently showing the Council's symbol. He took a moment to look around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various Council members who had dismissed human concerns for so long. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council, he began, his voice steady and clear. For 300 years, humanity has played by your rules. We accepted your restrictions. We smiled at your condescension. We endured your interference in our affairs. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several Council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had never heard a human speak with such direct challenge in their voice. Yesterday, Dajun continued, your forces destroyed our terraforming project on New Eden. You dismissed our evidence of sabotage. You lectured us about patience while our colonists evacuated their homes. Now see here, interrupted one of the senior Council members, his scales bristling with indignation. Those were clearly equipment malfunctions due to human inexperience with. Silence. Dajun's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. The Council member fell quiet, shocked by the authority in the human's tone. "Computer," Dae-jung commanded, "display current tactical situation." The Council's symbol vanished from the holographic display, replaced by a real-time map of Council space. Gasps filled the chamber as hundreds of human warships appeared on the display, their positions marking them as surrounding every major Council world simultaneously. "Impossible," whispered High Chancellor Valxar. "Your species doesn't have this level of technology. Our sensors would have detected." "Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect," Dae-jung interrupted. "For 3 centuries, you saw exactly what we wanted you to see. You never questioned why we accepted your restrictions so easily. You never wondered what we were really doing with all that time." The display zoomed in on various human vessels, showing designs that were far beyond anything the Council races had seen before. Ships that could have easily conquered Council worlds at any time during the past century. "Humanity will no longer tolerate being treated as children," Dae-jung declared, his voice echoing through the now silent chamber. "We have maintained our patience for 300 years. That ends today." As if on cue, reports began flooding in from across Council space. Human agents embedded in every level of Council society were revealing themselves. Defense systems were going offline. Communication networks were being redirected. The careful plans of 3 centuries were finally bearing fruit. "This is an outrage," shouted one Council member, rising from his seat. "This is an act of war." "No," Dae-jung replied calmly. "This is a revolution. The old order ends today. A new era begins, one of true equality among species." The display shifted again, showing human ships easily neutralizing the Council's defensive fleets without firing a shot. Technologies that the Council had thought impossible were on full display as humanity's true fleet emerged from dimensional space. "You have 2 choices," Dae-jung continued. "You can resist, in which case humanity will demonstrate just how far beyond your technology we've grown. Or you can accept that the age of Council supremacy is over." High Chancellor Valxar slumped in his seat, his 4 hands trembling. How did we not see this coming?" "Because you saw what you wanted to see," Dae-jung answered. "You saw a young, primitive species eager to learn from their betters. You never considered that we might be learning for a purpose." More reports flooded in. Council military bases were standing down. Defense platforms were powering down. 3 centuries of careful planning were transforming into perfect execution. "The choice is yours," Dae-jung concluded. "But know this, humanity's patience has reached its end. We will no longer ask for permission to grow. We will no longer accept being treated as lesser beings. The galaxy changes today." The Council chamber erupted into chaos as representatives realized the true magnitude of what was happening. Humanity hadn't just revealed their hidden strength. They had completely outmaneuvered the entire Council in one perfectly coordinated move. As the Council members argued and panicked, Dae-jung stood calmly at the podium, a silent reminder of humanity's new position in the galaxy. The time for pretense was over. The time for change had come. The massive view screen on the bridge of HSS Retribution showed the Council's most advanced battle fleet reduced to drifting hulks, their weapons and engines disabled by technology they had never imagined possible. High General Yuna Kim stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching as another group of alien ships surrendered without a single shot fired. "General," Commander Jinwoo reported from his tactical station, "the Arcturus Sector Defense Fleet has just transmitted their surrender. All major military installations in the sector are powering down their weapons. Our forces have secured their command centers." Yuna nodded silently, remembering all the time she had watched Council ships bully human vessels, forcing them to submit to routine inspections that were nothing more than shows of power. Now those same Council ships were helpless against human technology that had been hidden for centuries. "Status of civilian populations?" she asked, keeping her voice steady despite the satisfaction she felt. "All civilian areas are secure," Jinwoo responded. "Our quantum shields are protecting their cities from any accidental damage." Medical teams are standing by, but there have been no casualties on either side. That had been a key part of the plan, to show not just humanity's power, but their restraint. Any species could destroy. It took true strength to win without bloodshed. Incoming transmission from the Arcturus Defense Command, announced Lieutenant Min Seo from Communications. They're requesting terms of surrender. Yuna allowed herself a small smile, put them through on the main screen. The alien commander appeared, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly in what Yuna had learned was a sign of extreme stress. Behind him, human troops in advanced powered armor could be seen securing the command center. General Kim, the alien commander, spoke, his translator struggling to keep up with his agitated speech. We were told humans were centuries away from developing this level of technology. How is this possible? You were told what we wanted you to believe. Yuna replied calmly. Every time you inspected our ships, every time you demanded to see our technology, we showed you exactly what would confirm your prejudices. Another alert chimed through the bridge. More Council ships were appearing from hyperspace, responding to distress calls. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly into humanity's waiting trap. New contacts, Jinwoo reported. Council reinforcement fleet, 37 ships. Heavy capital class. Deploy the quantum net, Yun-Ah ordered. The space around the Council ships shimmed as hidden human satellites activated. Energy fields wrapped around the alien vessels, shutting down their weapons and engines simultaneously. In moments, an entire battle fleet was reduced to floating harmlessly in space. Council fleet is contained, Jinwoo confirmed. Their weapons and propulsion systems are offline. They're requesting communication. Yuna watched as more reports came in from across Council space. Everywhere, the story was the same. Council forces were discovering that their most advanced technology was centuries behind what humanity had secretly developed. General, Lieutenant Min Seo called out, "We're receiving updates from our embedded agents. The Council's Central Military Command is in chaos. Their leadership can't agree on how to respond to our demonstration." On the tactical display, green indicators showed human forces securing strategic positions throughout Council space. Centuries of careful planning were paying off as hidden agents activated in every major military and governmental installation. Another Council battle group approaching from the Centauri direction. Jinwoo reported, "They're charging weapons. Show them what real human technology can do," Yun-Ah commanded. The Retribution's quantum fields expanded, reaching out across space to envelop the approaching Council ships. Their weapon systems died instantly, their engines sputtered to a halt, and their communications were limited to channels humanity controlled. Council ships secured, Jinwoo confirmed. No damage to their vessels or crew. Yuna turned to address her bridge crew. For 300 years, they taught us about space warfare. They never realized we were learning how to beat them without fighting. More surrender messages were flooding in now. Council commanders across the galaxy were realizing the truth. Humanity hadn't been struggling to catch up. They had been waiting, watching, and preparing. General, Min Seo called out, "The Council's Supreme Military Command is requesting terms. They're offering complete surrender of all military forces." Yuna looked at the tactical display one final time, watching as humanity's hidden strength was finally revealed to the galaxy. The Council races were learning a lesson that Earth had known for centuries. True power wasn't about destruction. It was about having such overwhelming superiority that your opponents surrendered without a fight. "Accept their surrender," she ordered, "and remind them, this is not an ending. This is a beginning, a chance to build something better than what came before." As her crew transmitted the response, Yuna thought about all the generations of humans who had maintained this deception. Today, their patience had finally paid off. The galaxy would never be the same. Director Do-hyun stood before the assembled council members, his posture relaxed but commanding. The grand chamber that had once intimidated human representatives now felt small, its ornate decorations a hollow reminder of fading power. The holographic display behind him flickered to life, ready to reveal 3 centuries of carefully gathered evidence. Before we begin, Du Hyun addressed the silent chamber. I want you all to understand something. What you're about to see isn't just recordings. It's the story of how your arrogance led to this moment. The first recording began playing. It showed a council meeting from 297 years ago, where the leadership had secretly voted to restrict human technological development. The audio was crystal clear, despite its age, captured by human quantum recorders that the council hadn't known existed. "How did you get this?" demanded one of the council members, their scales shifting colors in agitation. "This was a sealed session. We were always watching," Du Hyun replied simply. "From the very beginning, we had people in places you never thought to look." The display shifted to show another recording, this one from a private meeting where council leaders discussed ways to sabotage human colonies. The aliens in the current chamber shifted uncomfortably as they recognized their predecessors, their own family members, planning deliberate attacks on human settlements. "Each time you damaged our colonies," Du Hyun continued, "each time you blocked our expansion, each time you sabotaged our projects, we documented everything. But more importantly, we learned from you." More recordings played, showing decades of conspiracy. Council ships deliberately interfering with human vessels. Secret orders to prevent human access to advanced technology. Calculated efforts to keep humanity dependent on council approval. "Your biggest mistake," Du Hyun said, walking slowly around the chamber, "was assuming that our patience was weakness, that our willingness to learn meant we were inferior." The next recording showed council scientists examining captured human technology, laughing at its apparent primitiveness. What they hadn't realized was that the technology had been deliberately designed to appear outdated. "Every piece of technology you examined," Du Hyun explained, "every ship you inspected, every colony you visited, all of it was a carefully constructed illusion. While you were congratulating yourselves on keeping us contained, we were surpassing you in ways you never imagined." The council members watched in stunned silence as the evidence continued to mount. Their own security recordings, their private communications, their secret meetings, all had been monitored and archived by human agents. 300 years, Du Hyun said softly. "For 300 years, we gave you chances to change, to treat us as equals, to be true allies. Instead, you chose to treat us like children who needed to be controlled." The final recording began playing, the recent destruction of the New Eden colony. But this time, the footage showed multiple angles, clearly revealing the council ships responsible for the attack. "That was your last chance," Du Hyun told them. "When you destroyed New Eden, you proved that nothing would change as long as the current system remained in place." He gestured, and the display showed the current situation across council space. Human forces had secured every major military installation, government center, and strategic location. The council's power had been broken without a single shot fired in combat. "We could have been allies," Du Hyun said softly, his voice carrying clearly in the silent chamber. "You chose to make us enemies instead. Now you'll have to live with that choice." One of the eldest council members stood slowly, their age-spotted tentacles trembling. "What? What do you want from us?" "Want?" Du Hyun smiled slightly. "We want what we've always wanted. A galaxy where all species are truly equal, where advancement isn't controlled by a select few who think they know better than everyone else." He touched a control, and the display showed plans for a new galactic governing system, one designed for genuine cooperation rather than control. "The old council is finished," he announced. "In its place, we'll build something better. Something that serves all species, not just the chosen few. You can help build this new system, or you can watch from the sidelines. The choice is yours." The chamber erupted in voices, some angry, some afraid, some already trying to negotiate their place in the new order. Du Hyun watched them with a mixture of sadness and determination. The council races were learning what humanity had known all along. True power wasn't about control, it was about cooperation. The time for secrets is over, he declared over the noise. The time for real change has begun. As the council members argued among themselves, Du Hyun thought about all the human agents who had spent their lives gathering this evidence, maintaining their cover, waiting for this moment. Their patience had finally paid off. The galaxy would never be the same. The new Galactic Assembly Hall in Geneva stretched toward the sky, its crystalline spires blending Earth's architecture with contributions from 100 alien species. President Hay Newell stood at the central podium, looking out over the gathered representatives of every spacefaring civilization. The morning sunlight streamed through the transparent dome, symbolizing the new era of openness and cooperation. Pita Park watched from his position near the main entrance, his security uniform marking him as part of the honor guard. 3 months had passed since humanity revealed their true strength, but he could still picture the ruins of New Eden clearly in his mind. That destruction had been the catalyst for change, the final push that had brought them to this moment. Representatives of the galaxy, Hay Newell began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. Today marks not just the first meeting of our new galactic assembly, but the beginning of a true partnership among all species. The gathered delegates, former council races, and newly elevated species alike, sat in circular tiers that gave everyone an equal view and voice. Gone were the elevated platforms that had once placed the council members above the rest. Many of you have asked why Earth was chosen as the seat of our new assembly, Hay Newell continued. The answer is simple: to remind us all of what happens when we let fear and prejudice guide our actions. The holographic displays activated, showing images from throughout human history, not just their struggles against council restrictions, but their internal conflicts, their victories, their growth as a species. Humanity's path to this moment was not easy, she said. We faced our own divisions, our own prejudices, our own fears. We learned the hard way that true strength comes not from domination, but from cooperation. Kaita noticed several former council members shifting uncomfortably in their seats. They were still adjusting to their new status as equals rather than superiors. Human warships patrolled the spaceways now, but their mission wasn't to control. It was to protect, to ensure that no species would ever again face the discrimination humanity had endured. Look around you. Hay Newell gestured to the chamber. Every species here has something unique to offer. Every civilization brings its own wisdom, its own perspective, its own strength. This is what the old council failed to understand. The displays showed the new structure of galactic governance, committees made up of representatives from all species, decisions made by consensus rather than decree, technology and knowledge shared freely rather than hoarded by a select few. We never wanted dominance, Hay Newell declared. We wanted respect. Now that we have it, we choose to use our strength not for control, but for protection. Not for power, but for peace. From his position, Kita could see the mix of emotions on the delegates' faces. Hope, uncertainty, determination. The same feelings that had driven humanity through their centuries of patient preparation. The ruins of New Eden are being rebuilt, Hay Newell announced. But this time, it's not just a human colony. Representatives from every species here have volunteered to help create something new, a symbol of what we can achieve together. The displays showed the reconstruction efforts. Alien technologies merged with human innovation, creating something greater than either could have achieved alone. The failed terraforming project was being restored, but with improvements that even humanity's hidden technology hadn't imagined. This is our chance. Hay Newell's voice grew passionate, not to repeat the mistakes of the past, but to build something better. Not to rule, but to serve. Not to control, but to protect. Kaita watched as the delegates began to nod, began to understand. Humanity had proven they could have taken control by force, could have established themselves as the new rulers of the galaxy. Instead, they had chosen a different path. The price of peace was high, Hay Newell acknowledged. We all lost something in reaching this moment, but what we can gain together is worth far more than what any of us lost alone. As the president continued outlining her vision for the future, Kita thought about all the sacrifices that had brought them here. The agents who had lived entire lives in deep cover. The scientists who had developed revolutionary technologies in secret. The colonists who had accepted restrictions and hardships, knowing they were part of a greater plan. Never again will any species face discrimination because they are young, Hay Newell declared. Never again will technology be hoarded by a chosen few. Never again will patience be mistaken for weakness. The chamber erupted in applause, genuine this time, not the polite acknowledgement of the old council days. As Kita watched, he saw former enemies reaching out to each other, beginning the long process of building true trust. The end of one era had come. The dawn of another was beginning. And this time, all species would face it together. Asterisk, the end asterisk.